This week's Torah reading, waEra, talks about the beginning of these so-called 10 plagues. I don't like the term plagues. Plague implies disease. These were different ways of attacking the Egyptians, if you will. In Hebrew, they're called the makoth. Makah means, well, it's from the verb lahakoth, which means to hit, to strike, or to smite, if you want to use that sort of language. So the 10 smitings, smitifications, pick a word, right? Okay. The 10 smacks. Doesn't sound really cool. Sounds like a naughty kid who's been sent to the corner and given a whack for his trouble. Anyway, whatever. 10 plagues, let's just go with that term. The second of them, in Hebrew, Sephardeia. Most people assume this means frog. Rashi translated as frog. More accurately, he translated as grenouille in the French of his day, which, as in modern French, slightly different form of the word, but okay, means frog, because that was his understanding of it. There are many different interpretations. Some say it was crocodiles. Some opine it was hippopotamotus. Yes, that's actually the plural. But most opinions are that that's not tenable. It's not a very well backed up explanation. And there are other attempts at explaining, and some say we have no idea what this word means. Because Rashi is probably the most famous commentator on the Torah, most people just take his word for it. And it is just universally known that they were frogs. It's not clear that they were. Regardless, whatever they were, Pharaoh gets fed up with it and asks Moses, can you remove this? There's a tradition that Pharaoh only asked for them to remove the plague when it was life-threatening. If it was just annoying, inconvenient, damaging, then he didn't. Are frogs life-threatening? Anyway, regardless, beside the point, he asks. And Moshe says, fine. Tell me when you want the plague to end. That's a weird question, right? Why would you ask that? Presumably right now. Now he said, no, you name the time and I'll make it happen. At that time, he wanted to show God's in control. In fact, he says, hitpaer alai, make yourself great over me. Try me. So what does Pharaoh say? Tomorrow. Weird thing to say. Because Pharaoh is rationalizing. He's playing politics. Why is Moshe asking me to name a time instead of just removing the plague? Well, if he's asking me, he must expect that I'm going to say, right now. Moses is probably just really good at interpreting natural events or omens. Maybe it's supernatural, maybe it's whatever. And he knows the plague's going to end anyway. So he's goading me into saying, get rid of it now, so that when it does end, he'll say, look, I did it. So I'm going to second guess him, because he doesn't know that I know. I'm going to say tomorrow. And Moshe says, fine. And the plague ends tomorrow, the next day. Just as he said. Because I know that you know that I know, and I know that you think that I don't know that you know. Right. Politics. Fun. The point is, this is real. You name the time, I'll talk to the boss, and I'll make it happen. That's it. He was willing to suffer this potentially deadly plague, frog swarms, crocodile attacks, whatever, for an extra day. People are dying. There's damage to the entire country. But to prove his point, to try to play mind games, to play politics, he's willing to suffer for an extra day. Oh, he thinks that it's not going to happen. He thinks Moshe knows that the plague's going to end anyway. But still, you can't be sure. So he takes the risk. The risk of how much damage, the risk of people's lives. Just to play a point. In order to hope he's right. That's quite a gamble. If you're right, hey, you've disproven this charlatan. You're suffering? Okay, find the reason you're suffering, but it's not from him. If you're wrong, though... Okay, let's jump ahead a little bit. The plague of hell, which is number 7. Barad in Hebrew. Moshe warns them there's going to be a giant plague, there's going to be hell coming out of the sky. Hell and fire, and it's a whole supernatural thing. Swell. Okay. It says, those who feared the word of God amongst Pharaoh's servants took his servants and his flock, his cattle. Not really flock, they didn't have a lot of flock, but they had cattle inside. They took them into the house, into the barn, what have you, protect them from the hell. But one who did not regard the word of God left his servants and his, you go about your business, right? Do what you're going to do. I'm not bringing you in for this. Okay, we're on plague number 7 right now. Yeah? Moses directly predicted 4 of them. He predicted the first 2. He warned, I should say, the first 2. Then the third one happened without a warning. Then the 4th and the 5th, he warned. 6th, didn't. 7 and 8, warned. 9th, once you've been warned twice and you haven't listened, I'm not going to bother warning you a 3rd time. After that, we'll try again. And after 3 sets of this, 3 threes, then we're hitting the big whammy. So here he warned them. He said there's going to be hell coming from the heavens. Okay. 6 times you've got whacked. Moses has already overtly predicted 4 of them. You see that it wiped out Egyptian property, people, interests. Didn't touch the Hebrews. Didn't touch the land of Goshen. Something's going on here. 6 times, 4 of them directly predicted, and now this guy is coming along and predicting it. Okay, maybe God is on his side. Maybe not. Maybe their one God thing is weird and false and strange. One God. That's an old joke. The Jews are so poor they can only afford one God, right? And maybe our gods are real, but something's happening. Maybe our gods are angry with us. Maybe Moses is a charlatan. Somehow he's a magician. He's controlling the supernatural events. Maybe he's just very good at predicting natural events. He knows this is going to happen. He says it anyway. Regardless, if he's been right that many times, you'd be a fool not to listen to him. So what is this, the one who feared God and the one who didn't? Again, it was spite. Those who feared the word of God brought them in. Those who didn't left them out. It's not that simple. It's not just, I believe him, I don't believe him. Because a few lines earlier, it says, take in your cattle and your servant and your beasts and all that and bring them in. That was an advice. Those who truly feared the word of God took it as a command. So really there weren't 2 types of people, there were 3 types of people. Those who feared the word of God took it as a command and brought everything inside because Moses said, bring it in, I'm going to bring it in. Then there were those who were, okay, maybe he's right, maybe he isn't, I'm not going to, whatever, and didn't believe him for whatever reason. Those were the fools. They still said, okay, you know what? Maybe he's right. Maybe God's on his side. Maybe he's just really good at this. Okay. Regardless, if he says it, it's probably going to happen. So what am I going to do? I'm going to bring everything in. I don't have enough space in my barn. Okay, it'll cost me $1,000 to build a new barn. This cow was worth $1,100. I'll put the cow in to save it. What about this cow? Oh, it'll cost me $1,000 to build a new barn. This cow's only worth $500. It's not worth it. I'll lose the cow. It was playing the economics of it. But then there were those who were overtly spiteful and put everything outside, either as a show of disbelief or as a show of rebellion. And they were willing to sacrifice. At this point, it's not gambling anymore. With the second plague, maybe you could say, he was right once. Second time, he warned it. It's gambling. This time, it's not gambling anymore. It's gambling as much as if I walk off a cliff, I might or might not fall. You're not going to take that gamble. But they did it out of spite. This entire reading today is filled with Egyptian spite and stubbornness. They say you can learn from everyone. Sometimes it's a negative example. Don't cut your nose off to spite your face. Believe me, I have a right to say that. I have a right to give this advice because I have done it far more than most people I know. Don't do it. Think about what you're doing. And above all, do the right thing. Don't be stubborn about it. Because the goal isn't to be right. The goal is to be right. Shabbat Shalom.